Thank you. Good evening, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank the Cafe Mutual community for having this session, for allowing us to present ourselves. And I guess a very topical subject that I was asked to do some justice to. I hope I'll be able to do that in the next 10 to 15 minutes. I'll straight away jump into the topic at hand, which is regaining back investor confidence into debt mutual funds. In a sense, it's strange and not a very happy so-called topic to start with, because for the simple reason that, you know, to my mind, in the last 20 years that I have been part of these markets, and the last 15 to 16 years that I've been part of Nippon Mutual Fund, debt funds per se were always perceived by investors to provide that much needed stability, comfort, and variety in terms of catering to various requirements of investors from time to time. And that was kind of practiced, proven, witnessed almost for the last 15 to 16 years, before you had the entire volatility or the negative episodes that we have seen in the last 1.5 years. So obviously, we don't only look at the last 1.5 years when we look to regain investor confidence, but we possibly look at this entire time frame, see what we did right, what we did wrong, and where can we improve in all areas for that matter, to regain back that investor confidence. And with that, I will start my presentation. I have a small presentation just to relate to the slides and nothing much more written on that. So I'll start with my presentation now. I hope this is visible to everyone. Debt mutual funds, getting back investor confidence. Now, before we talk about getting back the confidence and what we need to do about it, I think it's very important to unlearn. So what did we do wrong is the first thing that we possibly need to look at. Sorry, I'm bad with this. I just try to. Yeah. So what went wrong? I think somewhere to our minds, what went wrong was the understanding on the mandate. And the first part of that was the understanding of the risk appetite. Uh, Over a period of time, I think the understanding of the risk appetite shifted in a sense, uh, and this got built up very very slowly over a period of 4 to 5 years. And while this mistake was building up in terms of understanding the risk appetite, you were actually in a growing AUM environment as far as many of these funds were concerned. And in a growing AUM environment, uh, asset managers, in the best of their abilities and with the best intent, ended up chasing some kind of illiquidity. And that got hidden initially because it was a growing AUM environment. And it is only when things started turning around that some of these things came more to the fore in terms of the portfolio's risk characteristics not being completely in line with possibly what the mandate would have wanted it to happen over the entire cycle rather than happening only in good episodes. The other two things that I think went not so well was, one, the timing of credit risk events. Now, as I mentioned, that as part of understanding of risk appetite, all of us went slightly rightwards in terms of increasing risk into some of these portfolios. These risks were not necessarily risks in terms of only investing in lower rated assets. These were risks like, one risk of illiquidity that I mentioned. The other risk was in terms of the timing of credit events. Now, a lot of issuers, unfortunately, in the last 18 months did not work well. The issuers which started with a rating profile of AAA and AA, but at the same time were never priced as AAA and AA's. Everyone knew the reason why. Everyone knew that there were issues, some issues, but everyone was of the view that we will be able to manage these issues. Now, where did this so-called confidence of managing these issues came from? It came from hindsight. It came from past episodes. It came from the understanding that there is a refinancing ability in the markets to refinance some of these risks. And hence, the entire industry to some extent ended up timing credit risk, which, along with chasing illiquidity, to my mind, were two biggest things that should not have been part of the focus, strategy, practices that we had, and that was definitely not part of the mandate that was given to us. And finally, the mandate was X. We were trying to do X plus, and all this time, when we looked at it from a risk return parameter, and somewhere we lost this linear risk return equation, we never communicated enough. You know, through this entire period of 5-6 years, the communication was always what I would like to call it as lopsided. It was only the brighter side of things which were being looked at. And that's not only by portfolio managers or by fund houses, but by also investors at large and advisors at large. So in a sense, there was a false sense of security or false sense of comfort that got built around some of these products, some of these strategies over a period of time, and not for the wrong reasons. The right reasons were there. There was a track record, there was stability, there was low volatility. There were so many things which added to this lopsided communication, because of which we ended up in a position where everyone did not have a very good experience in the last 18 to 24 months. Now, if I go back to these learnings, the learnings that have come out of the last 18 months, now there are 4 or 5 learnings which are very simple, but very, very crystal clear as far as the fund industry is concerned. The first and foremost for regaining investor confidence has to be marry risk to risk appetite. It is not an issue of ability. It is an issue of adoption, the way I look at it. What I am trying to tell you here is that even if we are able to do A, B, C, D, E, 5 things well, we need to know which of these 5 things are suitable for a particular mandate, for a particular fund construct, and for a particular risk appetite. Just because we know how to do these 5 things well does not mean that we implement all these 5 things across product categories and across risk mandates. So that's definitely one big learning in terms of marrying the risk in a portfolio to the risk appetite of the end customer. The second learning is liquidity versus returns. As I mentioned earlier, some of the issues that cropped up in portfolios were not necessarily to do with credit quality. For example, we have seen in the months of March and April this year, when things were not looking that great, fund houses and schemes did not suffer so much because of credit events. They actually suffered because of illiquidity of portfolios. And it ended up being selling your good assets at higher yields just because they were not providing liquidity, not because they were bad in quality. So somewhere this understanding needs to be rebuilt in a very, very scientific manner across portfolios where we are looking at liquidity and returns in a parallel framework versus only looking at returns. The idea that there is no free lunch, the fact that the so-called low volatility was sold as a win-win by both fund houses as well as looked at it in that manner from investors. Excuse me. That is a notion that needs to be disabused. The notion that needs to be put forth is there is nothing called a free lunch. There is something called hedging risk. So rather than looking at avoiding risk, because risk is there on all sides, we ended up taking one form of risk while avoiding a volatility risk. So the learning here is not to avoid risk, but to actually choose which risk are we comfortable with, and also to then try to see how much of that risk could be hedged. from an investor behavior perspective, from a fund strategy perspective. Just to give an example, if you're talking about interest rate risk, ultimately the risk is not in terms of interest rate over a period of time. It is about interest rate risk led volatility if you don't spend that much time in the fund. So it is about hedging volatility rather than avoiding. Third part is never time credit, which I've touched. Fourth is counter cyclical thinking in risk management, which is that one thing that we missed out was always to step back and reevaluate the environment in which we were working and manage concentration dynamically rather than looking at concentration risk when fund sizes are reduced. And finally, communicate, constantly communicate on the environment, constantly communicate on the risk and the returns at all points in time. And the last slide, which is about how do we adopt these practices to ensure that investors get comfort. First and foremost is the discipline around the fund, which is not only about positioning, but much more granular than positioning in terms of the casing, where you work from a security level risk onwards and aggregate to portfolio. That is something that fund houses have done, will do, and that will get much more accentuated going forward. The most important possibly is visibility. One of the reasons why something called, there is a lot of talk about this roll down concept nowadays. Why is this concept so much catching everybody's attention? That is because it gives visibility. Investors at the end of the day, in good environments and especially in bad environments, need as much visibility to returns as possible. As long as we can design products and strategies that provide visibility, for example, the roll down concept that a lot of you would have heard in recent times, you are able to give that visibility, that predictability, that risk mitigation, and hence the end result is that the investor does not end with negative surprises, which is what we as debt fund managers are supposed to do. The last 2 points, mandate, which I already mentioned, never overshoot. We are a pass-through vehicle. We learned that it's not about overshooting the mandate in good times to ensure that the mandate does not get overshot in bad times. And fourth, as portfolio managers and as fund houses, just communicate. And the messaging has to be as much about risk, whether it is in portfolio or in the environment, rather than just about flows and returns. Now, that if we are able to do these 4 things, which to my mind are simple things, these are things that have been done all along. It is only that possibly at some level you go overboard, you lose that bit of discipline. I think if we bring back that discipline into the environment, into the fund management process, into the fund management industry, there is no reason why debt funds, which have been considered so favorably by investors for the last 20-25 years as providers of stability, efficiency, tax efficiency, predictability of returns, visibility of returns, low risk, will not come back in favor sooner than later. I will end here, and again, thank you all for having provided me with this opportunity to speak.